Yeah, yeah. Look like one giant eggplant.
Oh,
The round or the long?
oh God. Aloha, everybody. Let's see. You get, Charlie usually says a joke starts the jokes late. Oh, he started early tonight, and he had me a little chuckling right there. What? why don't Why don't you tell the audience what you just said before we went on?
Well, I was sitting here admiring my background since I don't have the big giant blue slipper that's used to kill the real big cockroaches about this big behind me anymore. And I was sitting here, and I'm proud of my Manu Heli attire. And I was sitting here like this, and I told Mel, "Hey Mel, I don't look like." He go, "What? I look like one giant eggplant, one
I,
talong."
I'm the I, I'm the daikon man.
Why would it be? There's no purple.
And everybody like they probably say, Mel, bro, well, change your shirt. What you always wear that shirt, but you know what? I did this on purpose. I get more than one blue shirt. Okay,
But
so I know a lot of you guys pay attention to that kind of
I
stuff.
have clothes.
And yeah, Patsy wash it. I get fresh clothes every day. So this is what I wore yesterday, but I saved it so that I could show you guys that it's not the same shirt. Okay.
Why would Charlie look like an eggplant?
Just-
There's no purple. There's no purple.
but people that no like confusion in their life, they get one wardrobe, 400 shirts, all the same color.
yeah. What our friend, the one the engineer, the
Oh, that's right.
uh
Nakasone.
Jerry Nakasone. Jerry
Oh, it's on a
Nakasone.
white t-shirt.
He must have 200 white t-shirts. That's all he wear, only white t-shirts. It's pretty cool.
Oh,
Um, anyway, on a bit early, Brian. We're on every night. We come on early for test the system. Because we don't like get embarrassed when we on Congresswoman on and Dr. Miscovich, and so yeah, we come on, we play around, test the system, talk a little bit about today before they come on. Today was an interesting day. Again, we had the new press conference, right? And the reports came out. Charlie, you posted early about the one death. We had one more death.
oh boy.
So, and the numbers was back to the 200s, which, I honestly, and I hate to sound morbid or negative, but as I look at the trends and the numbers of tests being done with all the clusters, with the jail and everywhere, and the hot Maui Memorial, I had no doubt that we would be back into. I actually thought we would hit the 300 today. But anyway, so I thought the press conference that came on was unannounced, right? He just said, he's gonna be making an announcement. I honestly thought that it was gonna be to talk about the death and to talk about the high numbers and to fire Dr. Anderson and to tell him Anderson yesterday said everything was groovy, we was heading down, we're getting back to, we're in a good spot. And he started the press conference with a very somber condolence for the two deaths. So we had actually had two deaths today. So my conclusion is that the second death came after they posted the report for the day. So we had two deaths. We had another 200 plus cases today. So I actually thought he was going to lock down Honolulu. I thought he was going to shut it all down. But no, no, no. He had the camera crew in the convention center, which is where he had his podium, and he was talking about how wonderful his contact tracing program is. And it was really interesting because it was an empty room, looks like the same room that the unemployment people use, but there was no one there. Had all the computers, but no one was there. And he said all of the contact traces are in the room next door. And of course, the numbers was off. One said 90 something, the other one said 100 something. It's still numbers, but my point is, if you wanted to show the public, put the cameras where the people stay. But I don't think get one room with the people. I don't. I'm so skeptical.
My source told me that today where they set up for that shot is the same room they use for the unemployment. So none of the tables moved. Everything the same. Still get the little name
Exactly.
tags of the guys who sat behind each screen. That's what I was told.
So, anyway, he went on. He had all the people come on. All they talked about, all they talked about was how good our contact tracing program is. That we're the best in the country, and that he's so proud. And Dr. Anderson again saying that we're at a good place. I honestly don't think this guy look at the numbers. They asked him some questions about numbers, and he didn't have the info, of course. But it was very, 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 very hard to watch. And it was just amazing how he said that. Anyway, Tulsi's in the room, so I'm gonna bring her in a little early so we can get her on. And I hope Dr. Miscovich makes it. I know he's been very busy, and so I just hope. But that's okay. We got Congresswoman Gabbard, and they had some big announcements today made about Congress, and we're gonna let her go ahead and share with us.
Hello, my friends.
Hey,
Aloha,
Congresswoman.
Congresswoman Gabbard. How are you doing?
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad we could all get together and talk story tonight.
Well, I got to tell you, there's a whole lot of people jumping on right now, and there's a lot of excited people. There's a lot of things going on, as you know. And Dr. Miscovich is supposed to join us tonight. I'm not sure about Jennifer. She wasn't sure. And we'll hopefully get Dr. Miscovich on. But there's a lot of stuff been going on. I know you don't need an introduction, but for those of you that don't know, something's wrong. But if you don't know, this is Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, right on the windward side of Oahu right now.
I am.
On the beautiful windward side, my favorite part of Oahu. And I got family living right up there in Aikahi. And I actually lived in Keolo Hills for back in my intermediate days. Went to Kailua Intermediate, believe it or not.
I didn't know that.
But, yep, I love that place. I love Kailua, and I still do. My auntie still lives. My cousins all live up there. So anyway, lots been going on, Congresswoman. And I think what we're going to do is not waste any more time. And maybe you can take us, start with how you got involved. Recently, just coming out, coming forward. And then more importantly, what Congress is. I know there was a couple of announcements made, but I'm not going to try to explain that. We'll leave that up to you.
Sure.
So with that, take it away.
I'll do that. And then I heard that you maybe had some feelings about the press conference today. Maybe we can circle back to that a little later.
Why did you bring that up again?
Start your meditation there, Mel.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely want to cover.
Yeah, because there are a number of things in there, and I had Ilihia on my staff. I had my staff in DC, my guy who's like super focused on COVID, and we're all on this text chat throughout the press conference. Like, what did they just say? Wait, what? Like over and over and over again. So we can get back to that, but. First, the thing that was announced.
Thank you, Tulsi. Before we thank you so much for stepping up and doing what you did and doing what you do.
Thank you.
We just really appreciate that.
Right back at you. I just really appreciate, Charlie, the personal story that you always continue to share that really brings something that can get lost in the science and the data and the bureaucracy back home to the heart, that whether it's someone like you and your family who's lost a loved one, or anyone who may not have, but is worried for their kupuna, their mom or their dad or whoever, this is about people. So, Mel, you're asking, how I kind of inserted myself into this whole thing. It's because I love Hawaii and I love our people. And just like you, I am very worried about my loved ones. I'm worried about our community, about our state, our economy. I am incredibly concerned about this skyrocketing number. This is one thing, Bruce Anderson's called what we're going through right now an uptick. This is a massive surge where we went from zeros, ones, twos, and threes to now triple digits every day, north of 200 and even north of 300. Our hospitals are packed. I was just on a call with the CEO of Queens and her team this morning and went down the line of how we are reaching capacity across the state. To say that this is an uptick completely reveals the problem with our State Department of Health. And so this is why I have been speaking up so strongly, not only recently, but throughout this pandemic, because we've seen how they are not doing their jobs. They're not taking this virus seriously. And their inaction is actually worse than inaction. Their inaction is actually getting in the way of bringing about real solutions that only the government can do. So, you know, I spoke with Speaker Pelosi. She was very concerned about the fact that, in effect, we have no contact tracing. The few contact tracers we've had, they're only calling people over 65 years old, and they're not even able to call all of the contacts for those who test positive. The largest demographic of people who are testing positive right now are that middle demographic, like mid-20s to about 40 years old. So they're not even catching anything from that largest demographic that is impacted. I was really grateful to see today and to be a part of announcing a really important part of congressional oversight, beginning with the chairwoman of the committee responsible for health in Congress, public health and quarantine. She sent a very pointed letter to Governor Ige today with very direct questions about the reality of where we were in a very good place to where we are now as the most highly infectious state in the country. How Congress, we fought for and it got appropriated over $50 million of federal funding specifically for contact tracing and testing. She's asking Governor Ige, where did that money go? How is it being used? How is it that you have so few contact tracers and this massive COVID infectious problem, and yet where's the disconnect? So basically trying to get answers, getting to the bottom of the issue for the people of Hawaii so we can fix it. That's really what this is about. So we can fix it and make sure that our Department of Health is actually working for us. So I'll pause there and welcome our dear friend, Dr. Scott Miscovich. He is, and Mel, you'll appreciate this. You know, when we say that, you know, you got a battle buddy in the trenches, Scott and I are battle buddies in the trenches.
Well, I would take you in a foxhole anytime, you know, that's, you know, if I know someone's at my back, I really would. So I appreciate so much what you've done and you stepping up. And just so everybody knows, we've become closely working on this just out of the Congresswoman's passion about standing up for what's going on. And I started to join her on town halls, and then more town halls went on to more town halls. And then we just started to collaborate, and, you know, we have each other's cell phone and we're just communicating on what does the world need. Not only what does the world need, and what does Hawaii need, what do the neighbor islands need, what do the people of Hawaii need. And then when this broke open with our whistleblower, man, oh man, I heard some very harsh words when we first talked, Congresswoman, that, you know, she was
that was the soldier language coming out.
Yeah, there was, I'm glad you said it, because I wasn't going to say it, but there was some good soldier language coming out, because, you know, it's clear that was really something you knew this was wrong.
Yeah.
And that's where we are. We all know this is wrong. And then, I'm sorry, I joined a couple minutes late, but I was catching up on some of the bits and pieces from today, and it's abhorrent what just came out of the mouths of public officials today. What we just saw is just not only not answering the questions that the public deserves answer, it's moving further away from the solution and just further into blatantly telling us something that's just not true.
Right.
Just how can we stand for this as a public? We can't. So I was so glad to see the letter, so glad to see the investigation, because correct me if I'm wrong, those are going to be under oath, right? They're going to have to answer questions under oath, and they could have investigative powers to be able to be responsive, right?
The letter is kind of it is an important part of the congressional oversight piece. I spoke with the chairman of the overall committee that's responsible for this today, and you know, everything is on the table. The thing that they want to get are some answers. They want to get the facts. So I think a lot of what happens next really depends on what information Governor Ige provides to congressional leaders to answer these questions. If they don't answer the questions, I could see this escalating to a committee hearing where, yeah, it would be under oath.
Well, what can we say the people of Hawaii would expect? I will come, I've worked really hard today, and, I'll go back like when we have our state, both House and Senate COVID committees. It is so frustrating to watch those because all you get is walking around the question. They never answer the questions ever. And I'm just like, yeah. And so I think we could all predict we're going to get these big, long, circuitous answers that are going to fail to answer the very, very pointed questions that came out in that letter. And, just like we're failing to get the leadership to answer the questions, just like how many times, even since we know we were lied to, did we then get different answers of how many contact tracers are there? How many are working? How many are there today? How many patients did they call? Exactly. How many days out from an initial positive were they? How many people did you contact associated with that person?
Were they tested?
Yeah, were they tested? Right. That's all we need. We're not asking for like crazy stuff. Have we ever gotten that? Never.
No.
And I'm afraid that really isn't going to change. Before you all came on, Charlie and I were doing our little pre-show discussion, and when I heard that the governor was going to do his press conference today, I didn't expect it today, but I thought it was because the numbers rose and because we had another death, and in fact, we found out later we had 2 deaths today, and but no, it had nothing to do with any type of tightening up anything further. It was simply, it was a dog and pony show about how well they're doing. And I'm sure you watched it. He went as far as to say that our contact tracing program is one of the best in the country. If I was at home in my chair, I'd fall off. I was in my truck, and I just couldn't believe it. I don't see, after what you all did last week at your press conference, after what you guys did so well, I mean, you would have thought that they would have regrouped. The governor would have called his people together and said, unfortunately, we just got caught with our pants down. We made some poor decisions. I made some poor decisions. And that next press conference should have been an apology and, taking accountability and basically saying, hey, we dropped the ball. And let's stop looking in the rearview mirror. Let's go forward. Let's bring in the experts. Let's put the lieutenant governor back in the saddle. Let's get Dr. Miscovich on the horse right next door, and let's get this thing done. And let's do it right. And I commit all the funding necessary. I commit working with Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard and the rest of the delegation. Let's do it right and take some freaking ownership. Oh, by the way, we can do soldier talk here, Tulsi. We can actually have soldier talk here. The lieutenant governor dropped the bomb, and there's quite a few of our elite people that have dropped it, and we really appreciate that. The fans love it. But anyway, that's where it needs to start, though. Like a drug addict, until you recognize that you have a problem, you'll never get over it. And that's what, after today's press conference, I don't ever expect that to happen from this crew. And I think that is a big part of the problem.
It is the problem. I agree, Mel. It is the crux of the problem. Leadership is everything. Leadership is everything. And, we've seen this before, unfortunately, how Governor Ige is just ill-equipped to fulfill that responsibility. And we've seen it in different crises that our state has had in the past, with different hurricanes and flooding and the volcanoes. We saw such a delay in action and deploying of the troops and deploying of resources, and it's really, really unfortunate because the only people who really get impacted are our communities, our people in their most dire time of need. And that was specifically, I don't have anything against him as a person. I think he's a really nice guy, and I'm sure that he means well, but he is incapable of fulfilling this responsibility And it's why I endorsed Colleen Hanabusa back in 2018 when she was challenging him, because I saw through that experience of going through those tough situations that he's not the guy for the job. And he's shown us through the course of this pandemic that not only has he failed to get rid of the problems at the helm of the Department of Health, he takes every opportunity to say, I have full confidence in them. They are doing a great job for the people of Hawaii, as though he's completely blind to the fact that, like, the house is freaking burning down, man. Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And he's doing nothing but saying, like, okay, yeah, you know, things are going great. And look at what we have. And my staff, Ilihia, texted me, you said, Mel, he had a dog and pony show today, but there was no dogs or ponies.
Yeah,
There's
right.
a crew behind him.
That's right. That's right. You know, I'm going to go back to what you said, Mel, and I think I said this to you when I was back on the show before. I've met the governor numerous times. I've been involved with numerous meetings. He's a quiet man. He's an engineer by training. He's got some very specific, you know, very, very strong intelligence in certain areas. And I expected that he would have done exactly what you said, Mel. If he would have walked up to that microphone the next day, even give him 3 days to analyze it, to really come, because he's that kind of person. And he would have stepped up and said, just what you said. I'm sorry, I have been lied to. You have been lied to. I am here for you. And these people, I cannot let the people of Hawaii be lied to. I would fully support him, even with the fact, because most of us would say, okay, in the middle of a pandemic and things like that, we're gonna be trying to rally around. But that's it. He had his chance, and when he went in there today and had to say, and by the way, we have some of the best contact tracing, that is almost like taking something and so much pushing in our face, and it's basically saying, guess what? You can't touch me. You can't touch my people. Good luck. I can say whatever I want, and who cares? I mean, that's just like so insulting to me as a citizen, where truth is where it starts. Right. We all deserve truth in this type of event. This is a pandemic. People are dying. 2 more people died today. What do you tell those 40-some people who lost their lives? Oh yeah, you had the best contact tracing program. It's so wrong. It's so wrong.
This is where my fear comes. And maybe either one of you can answer this. You know, when we started to see the numbers go down, I would say, okay, let's see where this goes. Then when it just shot up again, they have a tendency of falling back on contact tracing and, you know, kind of misleading everybody where it's going to go. But I don't think they even have a high octane approach to putting this tracing program into drag mode and just stepping on the pedal, pedal to the metal and firing away. I don't see it coming. So I was telling Mel before you folks came on, and you know me, Doc, very simple-minded policeman. But here, A is infected, infects B. B goes up the cell. 1C infects D. If it stops at D, then we know for a fact that chain already is eliminated, right? The virus has stopped.
Right.
My question is this: did they even go through that? Because if we got some 4,000 cases, what are they going to do, these new contact tracers? Come on as cold case investigators and start where they left off? Or start all over again? Or just disregard and say, okay, we wait till the snake rear its head and then we'll attack those again? I mean, that's the part that, the lay people, they're sitting back like, what are we going to do now?
I want to answer that from a medical perspective. Yesterday's press conference, when Bruce Anderson stammered his way and said, whoa, we got so much disease that contact tracing is a trained epidemiologist. Contact tracing isn't effective when you have so much disease present. I wanted to take my computer.
What he said was, and I almost had to eat a piece of paper last night because I asked the doctor last night if it was true. What he said was, contact tracing is useless once you have community spread. That's what he said. Now, good. Help me. Is that true?
That's the most, everybody in the world would tell him, where did you get that? Look at every best practice across the country and the world, and testing and contact tracing is what is stopping this disease. So I wanted to say to him, okay, so let me get this straight, Bruce. You let it get to the point where we had it under control. You failed contact tracing by not keeping these clusters under control. You didn't put any of that money in to do contact tracing. You didn't put any of that money in to do any effective testing. So therefore you let it. And now that you've let it, you're just going to go, well, now there's a lot of that is so far, that is just deplorable. That alone, if the governor had anybody advising him or he had any health knowledge, they would look and say, where did this person come from? Please get him out of here. This is just, we want people with a serious opinion. And the other one I'm going to talk about, because, well, we'll get into that. I got called by by Nolan Spinda's office. They've walked away from the prison. They're no longer doing. They said, we're taking the National Guard out of there. We can't do anything more. They're just walking away. And Bruce had the nerve to say yesterday, well, we kind of expect it. It's all over the country. If you look, when it gets into the prisons, it's all over the country. So we kind of expected it. Well, what happened under your watch? What do you mean? Let's just let those prisoners die that they deserve to get it?
No, I want to bring something up so we can put a little cap on that. It's about the prisoners, but it's also about the staff that works there.
Absolutely.
The very first guard that got infected, shop steward for UPW, Kalani Warner, got hospitalized. The sad thing about it, I just found out today, he has COVID, hospitalized, and today he had a heart attack because of COVID. That's because of the negligence. Now I'm getting upset now, not at you folks, but at the system. And that's why my posts have always been attacking Espinda, because, again, the timeline was on the 3rd, the prisoner, the number one, patient number one, prisoner number one, came in infected, tested on the 3rd, results on the 5th, Wednesday, and nothing was done to move into isolation or whatever all the way until the 10th. In the meantime, he's moving amongst the population in the quarantine. That's why you have this explosion. Now, you have all these guards who are getting sick. And so I used the analogy today. You have a football field of 100 yards, 10 guards, each guard gets 10 yards. 2 guards call off sick. You take those 20, the people in the prisoners in the 20 yards, throw them in the 80 because you only got 8 left. They go all the way down to they only get 5 guards left. That's why you're getting all these violence happening in there. Because why? These guards are getting sick left and right. And to even think, and I'm glad you said something about this, Scott, and then I'll stop here. Even the National Guard, who's testing some of the prison guards, told them that I got a source information from, says, hey, you better go and get tested somewhere else because we don't trust what we're doing. So did they just get tested? Did they just get taught how to do the nasal swabs, or what was it? That's what we're faced with, and the numbers speak for itself. It's happening. It's blown up already.
Well, Charlie, why don't you tell about our connection? You had me. I talked to the head of the guards because I treat a lot of the guards and a lot of my patients. You called me, and within hours, I was in touch the whole ways up, and I offered to have a strike team at that prison to do every guard and every person in it within 12 hours. I would have been done. Right. And I offered that. And when was that? That was two weeks ago when this was just starting. That's how you handle this. Nothing.
Right on that Friday. It was right on that Friday, the 7th.
That's right.
And it baffles me to think. So Congresswoman, now's the time you're going to hear this, because I'm pretty sure you haven't heard it. You get a set of guards because of the staff is short. I understand. But you can't make guys work. And this is, you're expecting them to watch dangerous, people that are serving time. You can't be putting on them constant 16-hour shifts and some on 24 and 32 hours straight with no break. That is unheard of. That is unheard of. So again, this now comes up the administration. So all I can go by is what the information was given to me. But you have already seen, and here's another thing that happened, and I wasn't told that I couldn't say anything or I could say something, but a guard, because if you watch KITV, they posted themselves anonymously giving reports to, they've been talking about it these last couple of days. Apparently one guard got outed because they put 2 and 2 together and they said, okay, we know who this person is. This senior guard was put in a position to watch 50 COVID patients in the prison. He said, no, he's not. He says, if anything, I'm going to go outside. He said, no, you come inside, you watch him. He says, hey, I'm using my seniority. No, I'm not. Exchange gets pretty much threatened. If not, you're going to get written up. So what does he do? He's the only breadwinner in the family. He goes and works. Guess what happened to him?
Positive.
He turned out positive. So basically, we threw him into the lion's den to get positive. That is the stuff that's happening. But anyway.
You know, I and there's so many stories like that. There's so many stories like that. There's you know, job sites that people don't want to go to work. They're afraid, mostly in Honolulu, because, you know, obviously the virus is rampant right now. But, you know, so we have a medical side. Dr. Miscovich is here. Thank you. And then Congresswoman Tulsi. How do we fix this? I mean, the congressional probe will expose, I think, some of the shortcomings of the state, more specifically the expenditures of the funds that were supposed to directly go to what we needed and we didn't do. But I mean, impeachment of the governor, you know, that can only be done by the legislature.
That's not going to happen.
And that's not you exactly. I think I speak for 90, except for one guy on here who says the virus is man-made and it's to push the sale of a vaccine. But vast majority of us are so frustrated. And when you did your press conference and hearing from you and Jennifer and of course seeing Dr. Miscovich out there, who's, you know, has become a really good friend of ours on this show, the frustration is getting to the point where it's, you know, people are getting angry. I'm getting angry. I'm getting very angry because there is no indication that direction of this administration is going to change. It's just not. I mean, we saw it today, and it's not going to change. I said this the other night. You know, I know the governor, and I know his wife. My wife and I, we've sat at dinner with him, and he's a very intelligent guy. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and basically say, you know, the problem is just he's a terrible leader, but he's not stupid. He's listening to these people who are clueless. Yesterday, Anderson said that we were in a good place, that we were the virus was going away. You know, I think, am I hearing this right? And then today, we're, oh yeah, it's we've had another spike, but you know, like you said, Doc, it's an uptick, you know, and they cannot acknowledge the fact that Oahu is in trouble. Yeah. So first, I want to hear from you, Tulsi, for the people. I mean, besides writing to your legislators and coming onto Facebook Live with Mel and Charlie, and you know, because we know they watch this, they watch this, and they'll see this, and they'll get even more upset. But what can we do aside from the personal responsibility and making sure we keep ourselves safe? You know, I'm at the point now, just don't listen to the press conferences and just take care of yourselves and you know, wait for this thing to pass. But the way this virus is moving and the way we are responding, the virus is going to win. Yeah. And Doc, maybe you can explain that. But yeah. What do you suggest for us?
So don't lay down your arms, Mel. I would just ask you in that what you and Charlie do here is extremely valuable, and it's because we're not going to see ownership being taken by our leadership, starting with the governor at the very top. Any hope for change, it's got to come from us. It's got to come from that building that external pressure. And thank you, Charlie, for sharing the stories of people, you know, your friends, of what's going on in our prisons, because yeah, a lot of this stuff is not seeing the light of day. I'm taking notes. My staff is taking notes. So we're going to start to dig into this. I think just shows more examples. So we've talked a lot about the Department of Health, because I really believe, and I think you guys see this too, but I really believe that the vast majority of the people in Hawaii are taking those individual steps,
Yes.
wearing the masks, doing the physical distancing, being careful, looking out for one another. And if they see somebody who's kind of, not doing it, they're policing each other. They're saying, hey man, put your mask on. And this is what pisses me off so much, when you have Bruce Anderson standing up there saying, oh, the biggest problem here is on the public. It's the public's problem that we're seeing this big spike, rather than taking that ownership and saying, man, you know what? Back in April and May, when we were seeing those single digit numbers, when we had the opportunity and the money to actually train and hire contact tracers, to get more testing capability into our state, over 50 million federal dollars specifically for that function, they failed to do it. And because they failed to do it, we're in the situation that we're in here. One thing I want to point to, and I have like 6 main points from the press conference today that deserve to be defeated. One of them, Bruce Anderson said, no amount of contact tracing would prevent the uptick we've seen. Contact tracing is most effective in the early stages before there is community spread, is what he said. And then he said other states have long since given up on contact tracing. But if you look at what he's saying is, hey, read between the lines. If we had done our job back when, the early stages, then it would have been effective and we wouldn't be where we are now.
Yes.
This is the irony of just the nonsense that's coming out of their mouths. And for him to say no amount of contact tracing, he's got a doctor in front of his name. I'm not a doctor, but I know how to read data and information and look to what has worked and what experts are saying. So Department of Health is kind of the main issue here. But as you pointed out, Charlie and Scott, you're seeing this other thing in Department of Public Safety with our prisons. We're seeing another thing within the Department of Labor. I saw another article today saying that they just shut down one of their phone banks, even though thousands of people are still trying to get through to get unemployment. Still, we are months into this thing. I know people personally who have not yet been able to get a single check, and they are worried sick about how they're going to cover basic life necessities for themselves and their kids. So those are 3 major departments within our state government where we're seeing massive failure on epic proportions. I'm sure we could go down the list more and identify other areas of problems. But again, this all points back to leadership. So there's my rant. To get to your question, what do we do about it? We all collectively need to make as much noise as possible to the governor and to the state legislature. If we collectively continue to raise our voices, we got to keep their feet to the fire. We got to keep raising the pressure. This is why the congressional action today is so important. The follow through is going to be important, because they got to know we're not going to just sit back and be like, oh man, too bad they're not doing their job. We're not going to let that happen, because people are freaking dying. People are dying. And God forbid that something would happen to one of those people in a position to actually do something about it. Like you, Charlie, where something happened, you lost your brother. God forbid that's what it takes for them to wake up and freaking light a fire. I pray that does not happen. We have to continue to put up the pressure, using whatever means necessary, getting out there, getting on the media, doing Facebook Lives, organizing a hui of business leaders to speak up, signing petitions, sending letters, relentlessly putting that pressure on, so that it becomes so uncomfortable that there is no alternative other than to take action.
I gotta say, after your press conference with you and Jennifer and Dr. Miskin and the rest, I don't know how much more uncomfortable, that's pretty uncomfortable when you get caught like that, when you get, and completely exposed that's pretty much as uncomfortable as you can get. And the response was completely unexpected from myself. Anyway, it was kind of weird. It's pathetic, really. And now we're faced. You know, we just today we lost a Kauai boy, died yesterday Saturday. He was living on Oahu at the time, but you know, he was here up until probably a couple years ago. Not an old guy, not underlying conditions. And I spoke to the brother-in-law today. You know, he was on Oahu. They kind of narrowed it down to a function that he went and he hugged somebody. That was it. He just gave a hug, and they figured that's where he picked up the virus. And he got sick, and very quickly afterwards he passed away Saturday. His death was reported yesterday, but it's starting to touch everybody. And the guy told me today, you know, Mel, now it hit home. He said it hit home. We're still in shock. How this, you know, he's not a young guy, but he's not old. You know, his late 40s or whatever, and he's gone.
Yeah.
Like that. Same like Charlie's brother. So I don't know. I gotta believe that some of our decision makers have friends or relatives that have lost loved ones. I mean, but they're not getting it, and it scares me. Doc, you saw the chart that Charlie put up. I mean, that's just a very small cluster, because that's what that would have been, you know, a little cluster that. But we're not even checking on the B's and the C's. You know, we're making a phone call to the people's home. I personally know because my coworker had come in contact with a positive patient, very close contact, never got informed by the Department of Health. He was level 1 contact. I had a call yesterday from a woman on the Big Island, same thing. Mom test positive, daughter never got a call from the Department of Health. So it's not working. Even listening to these guys today saying that we got one of the best contact tracing programs, every single person in this state knows that's not true.
That's right.
And we need to fix that. And you ever did a percentage of what percentage of all tests in the state you've done? You probably well over 50%, right?
Probably not quite, but it's high. It's really we've done a very large portion of them, and especially early on when that curve was flattened. I'm giving my staff are heroes out there doing it. We were leading mostly half of the tests. We did most of Maui, Big Island, all over Oahu. And, you know, everything went well because I can tell you, I'm going to give you a couple scenarios. When I was out there and we were doing all that testing, the people of Hawaii listened. That's why we flattened the curve. It had nothing to do with the Department of Health. We were doing our own contact tracing. They weren't doing anything at the first phase of it. I had an office set up where I brought my own people in, hired people to do contact tracing. So that's one thing. Now I want to go and answer your question that you just posed before. And I want to make a comment that for me is a perfect example that the people of Hawaii need to hear this loud and clear. And by the way, I think Jennifer's watching us right now. She did text me, and I gave her the link to come on. But do you realize that right up to the time that the senators came over that day, Bruce Anderson never once ever met, sat down, addressed, or spoke to the contact tracers? Ever. That's gross negligence. Sarah Park, one time. She walked in front of that camera so many times. One time did she ever take the time to even look in there and say, thank you for what you do, or do you have any questions? How can I help you? Thanks for being there working 60, 80, 100 hours. So that, people, come on, Hawaii, we are different than that. If you worked in your job and you had somebody that was pushing you and they never once even acknowledged or thanked you for doing it, all of us would be like, really? Is this a place to work? Are these people, did they really care about what's going on? So then the final thing, you know, along the lines to answer your original question, I totally agree with Congresswoman. Everything she's saying is so spot on. Now I'm going to take how I work on this. I'm just like, when I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to be picking on this. and I'm going to not let this go because I'm going to stand up and lead to say we have to have the truth. But when it comes to treating COVID, tomorrow is behind me. Yesterday was behind me. I am now moving forward, and I wake up and I just try to help the people for why every single day, take the phone calls, do the leading, do the testing. Right now, we are doing at least probably close to half of the testing when it looks at the numbers that we're getting. You know, we're getting about 1,000 a day coming out of our group. We have a couple thousand tested a day, about 2,000 that are done. And we're in high profile areas. And so right now we're in the midst of strike team testing, and I'm getting calls every single day. Please come and test. We have positives. We have workers out. You know, right now we're juggling 12, 13 nursing homes that don't even make the press. And we're working to try to keep them safe. We have businesses, we have restaurants, we have accounting offices, we have healthcare providers that are in doctors' offices, that are in hospitals that are coming to us to get tested because they've had a cluster. I mean, we're just testing away because we know finding the disease rapidly, testing these individuals, informing them that they're positive, having them go to quarantine, which they will. The people for why, of course, are going to listen, telling their contacts, getting their contacts in within 6-8 hours. We're doing that in our practices, in our offices. You're around the positive. I'm telling you, you're calling your friends. We'll find a way to get them in. And guess what? And then repeat, 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 repeat. It's a very simple thing. So to hear anybody up at the Department of Health level to say that, one, where's our testing, contact tracing, none of that is important. It's the only answer. It's the only way we're going to get this under control is by identifying who's positive. And
that's it. That is it right there.
Yep.
What you said, Scott. It is the only way. It's not a way. It is the only way. Period.
Here's another thing that you know I'm going to share with you, because someone said to just, and I got this information a couple of days ago, that guard who's now basically fighting for his life, you know the family's going to be denied workers' comp, and they said that because he was observed coming to work without his mask on, you can't prove that he got the COVID from inside the prison.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, why do they even say something like that? That is, so, you know, that's one thing. And then another thing that kind of hurts is you get a patient that's removed from the prison that had to be medical intervention, right? When you get ambulance personnel coming there to pick the patient up, and you're a guard waiting for them, and when the ambulance personnel is telling you, hey, is this person COVID positive? Yes. You're wearing the wrong mask. You're gonna get it. Where's your PPEs? The prison don't give us any. This is the only thing we got.
Wow.
But you don't have the right equipment to actually be in this condition of this person right now. What are you doing? You see, these are the kind of stuff that when I hear, I'm trying to wrap my head around it, and I say, damn it, it's frustrating. You're subjecting these people to a battle. I mean, even people that work in these virus labs, I mean, they're suited up for war. Exactly. And yet you got people that have to go home to families, but you're basically infecting them to take it outside of the prison, you know. And then lastly, you know, I saw a news conference about they have a new protocol that they developed for quite a while. Well, it can't be, because there was nothing in place. And this is what makes me crack up. All new admittance, you would agree, right, Doc? You should be quarantined for 14 days at least, right? Just to make sure that you didn't bring anything inside.
You're quarantined or you're tested. In a perfect position, you're tested before you arrive, you're quarantined, knowing the cycle of incubation is 5 to 7 days. At minimum, you're going to get another test at day 7, day 8. At that point, the chances you have the disease are reduced. If you then take it out to 14 days, you're getting down to less than 1% chance that there could be any residual virus. The only exception would be if you're immunosuppressed and you have a lot of chronic illness that would allow the virus to be maintained in your body. So yes, at bare minimum, there should have been a second test, continued isolation in a perfect way. 14 days is perfect. That's why you always hear 14 days, 14 days. because
Well,
at that point it's gone.
Here's the prison. Their policy is you come in, after 5 days, you're out.
Okay, so let me
and no test, and no
And,
test.
and no,
You don't even
and
get a test.
Yeah.
You don't give it a test.
let me
That-
make a comment on that. Okay, let's go to I'm a root cause guy. All right. I've been on your show. I've been saying this since, everybody knows how much time and effort of my life I've spent to homelessness and fighting to set homelessness. I came out, actually, one of my colleagues that when I was at Harvard has published the best study that shows how rapidly this disease spreads through conjugate living facilities. And I came out forcefully and said, we need to watch our prisons. We need to watch, the ACLU had me as their physician guest to say, we're worried about our prisons. And then we talk about homelessness, we talk about mental institutions, we talk about addiction treatment facilities. All of those facilities are at risk, right? Who is responsible? Those are like medical, those are not medical facilities. Who is responsible to teach, to ensure, to measure, to go through, to help, to assist, not take a hammer and beat them over the head with it, but to help them prevent it? The Department of Health. These are failures of the Department of Health to evaluate and to do the right thing, to teach these people, to educate them, to supply them with the right equipment. This all tracks back to Bruce Anderson and to Sarah Park of a failure, all of them.
And this is why, sorry, and I'll hand it back to you, Mel, kind of dominating here, but this is why, and I've been asked this over and over and over again by our media at the press conference we had, and then again tonight, saying, do you think it's enough that they put this branch chief, Ms. Robertson, in charge of contact tracing? Is that enough of a change? And my answer to them every single time has been no, because as long as you have these two individuals in these positions of power, where they are the ones making the decisions and they're the ones advising the governor, you're going to continue to see the kind of failures, as Scott said, that are impacting us across the range of services that the government is responsible for.
Let's do this. I want all the media out there that's listening. And when you get her back up in the next Dog and Pony show, you look at her right in the eyes and say, Emily, can you tell me, do you believe in contact tracing? Does contact tracing, because guess what? I have people that sat in meetings with her where she is miming Bruce and Sarah, and she's come out and said, I don't believe in contact tracing. And she's the head of our contact tracing. And she's already behind the scenes said that she does not believe in contact tracing. So
I did not know that.
I got that through people who were in meetings, and
The governor wouldn't.
Mel, I tell you, this is, the revelation tonight is when I first saw the first time The Exorcist came out. I mean, like, oh boy. I'm gonna have my head spin around a couple times and watch out for that piece too, boy. It's coming.
The governor would never appoint someone that would stir the pot. I mean, obviously,
Exactly.
Tulsi, that's just how politics works.
My name ain't anywhere on any list, I tell you that much.
Yeah, no, the question I was going to ask you, Tulsi, was at what point can the federal government step in? And I'm sure it's probably impossible, but through this inquiry, I mean, if the federal government figures out or recognizes that the health and safety of our public is at risk, could that trigger some federal takeover? I know some people can blow gaskets right now because a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm afraid. I'm really worried. And I tell you, I'm gonna be honest. The selfish part of me is very worried for Kauai.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel for who I love. I got family there. They have facilities. Yeah, it's racking up. But here on Kauai, if we end up with 100 or 200 cases, it's going to be devastating. I mean, we're going to wipe. People will die, and that's a huge fear. Now, one of the questions we got from one of the viewers today to ask the doc was, we have school back in session, and yes, we're going to go distance learning, but in some cases, the special ed, the kids with special needs are actually going to school. They are going to school, and they have their things all set up at the school. And many of these students their doctors are on Oahu. They don't have the specialists here. They need to go to Honolulu, Kapiolani, or the Shriners, wherever they go, and they're exempt from quarantine because it's a medical visit. So parents are concerned that, and it sounds bad, like you're picking on a disabled child, but the reality is, whether it's a disabled child or an adult, this person will go to Honolulu to a medical facility and come back and be exempt from quarantine. Does that pose a real risk to the others in the school or the parents when these kids go home?
Well, I'm gonna make a broader answer to that question. It's a very specific question, and it's got dualities. That on one hand, I want that child to be able to get the health care they need. You can't deny it. It's a challenge. So it's kind of a specific question. And of course, the answer would be it poses a risk. But is anybody giving them masks? Is anybody giving them the right mask? Are they doing testing before or testing after or things like that? The answer is no. So let's go to the broader question. Our exemption list has been one of the reasons we've had broad new community spread, because it has been totally ineffectively evaluated and monitored. And anybody who's gone through the airport would know it. And when you look and read that list, the list of who's not exempt is shorter than who is exempt. It's like,
that is true.
And so where's this disease? How to get it spreading? People can fly everywhere. Nobody ever looked at that. And then where's that go back to? It goes back to the governor, goes back to the Department of Health. Who do we count on to do that? Wasn't you, wasn't me, wasn't Congresswoman Gabbard. It was them that made this. And once they wrote it, they haven't re-looked at it or evaluated it. Right now, with how much the disease is surging, we need to be so much scrutinizing every person that even if you're on an exemption list, you should be wearing an N95 mandatory. You should be getting tested. You should be being quarantined and such, except for, there should be so many exceptions that you should have. You should probably have an internal contact tracing program at whatever work site you're going to say, if you're going to be exempt, take responsibility for that worker. It's a failure.
That makes
One,
sense.
one of the things that I am happy with the Governor Ige, one of his decisions was to turn over the exemptions to the county mayors. So, and Derek on Kauai is a very strict dude, and he is not giving those things away. So people are getting pissed off because they got it from the governor, and now Derek is saying that's not. No. There's a difference between essential and critical infrastructure needs, and that's where the governor, back when he was doing exemptions, everybody, you read a sob story because your family member was in the hospital and you needed to go visit, you get an exemption. I mean, I hate to sound so cool, but we want to beat this thing. We got to be tough. We got to be tough. The other thing, this is a good one too, and Tulsi, you can chime in on this because I just kind of want your opinion, because it was Maui. In Maui, the mayor announced that they approved this private flight of 100 visitors to Maui to do a reality show at the Andaz. What is the Andaz? Is that a hotel?
It's a hotel brand.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, is there one on Maui? There must be one on Maui.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
So apparently, the residents are being.
in Hana. Isn't that the one in Hana or no?
Oh, they took over the management.
Huh?
It could be the one that took over the management over in Hana.
In Hana. Okay, that makes it even worse. But anyway, so the mayor, and I saw his press conference today, and he got really upset at the people, he called them the naysayers, that were against his decision to allow this private jet of 100 people. And Doc, I don't know if you heard this, but so they're allowing a private flight, and supposedly these guys are going to quarantine and they're going to practice all the safe measures. But there's 100 people coming from the mainland to Maui to film a reality show. And they're going to put a lot of Maui people to work. And this is where it gets tough. And especially for you, Tulsi, the doc worries about the medicine, the health and safety. Government's got to look at all angles, including the economy. And Mayor Victorino says that, while he's not real good with it, he's happy to see a lot of local people getting back to work. But the fact that we're flying 100 people from heaven knows where to come to Maui, and and do a reality show, is that really an essential purpose? And I was curious on what your position was, Tulsi, and then as far as the medical side from Dr.
So I agree with you, Mel. I think it's good that a lot of the decision-making authority has been delegated to the mayors to be able to make those decisions for their counties. You know, and you're right, Charlie. It's not Han. I was wrong. It's in Wailea. In order, I don't know the details of this, and I would have a lot of questions myself before I could form an opinion on it. Like, where are they coming from? Are they coming from places where there are hotspots, whether it's in the mainland or in other countries?
Yeah.
What's the testing protocol? Are they being tested before they leave? And as Dr. Miscovich said, within that 5 to 7 day window after they land, to make sure they didn't contract it en route or between that first negative test. What kind of quarantining at all, if at all, are they doing beforehand? Are they being isolated? I believe they are being isolated into this bubble. And a lot of local people are pissed off because now they're being told, hey, we can't go to any one of these beaches during this period of time. So there's a lot of other questions that I would have before I personally, from a civilian perspective, could say, like, this is a terrible idea or it's a good idea. And sorry, the last thing I'll add to that is that's just for the people who are going there. What about those hotel workers? What about their families? Are they staying on site at the hotel in that quarantine bubble for the duration? Or are they going into the bubble and then leaving the bubble every single day and going home and potentially, expanding that risk or that exposure to other people who are not part of that quarantine bubble that I think he's creating there. So I think these are all important questions that people of Maui County really should get some answers to.
I have a lot of things I can contribute. I worked closely with the Honolulu Film Office to help them and advise them on our policy here, and they did a wonderful job. So we have a policy here that is very strong to put this all into play, and I give them some kudos for making it happen. At the same time, I'm going to give a plug. I have my team working right now. They are here and there. We have a Netflix movie. I'll give it a plug. It's called Kate Winslet and Woody Harrelson. Gonna want to see this one, man. This is going to be a good one. I mean, those two people together. It's being filmed right now, and we did all the testing prior, and it's very similar to what we're talking about. They did all the right things. There's very strict guidelines of who travels with whom. The people they have infection control people on site that are I've been prepping for this with them for 6-8 weeks to do it. So there is a way it can be done if it's done safely with a right policy in play. I don't know what the mayor's policy is on Maui, but on Oahu, I feel the film industry has put up a very safe program. Then the second thing I can answer is, everybody probably knows I'm in a national role. I had 2 phone calls today with Disney worldwide. My role as a national testing consultant, I'm going to have a team in Los Angeles on Tuesday and a team in Atlanta, and we're going to be testing the studios. They're doing 3 PCRs per week, right? And then there's a question of having the antigen test, and they have to have them back in 24 hours. And there is a big merger of what the union wants versus the talent and the producers, but they all came together to figure out a very safe way to do it. And what did it include? Multiple tests 3 times a week. They created bubbles within the bubbles. They have zones, an A zone, a B zone, a C zone, an E zone, and you can only go within certain zones. And if you're in that zone, you don't go in that zone. And if you're a worker in that zone, because then by the end of the filming, you know that the people in E will not need to be contact traced for the people in A, because the people in A didn't go to B. There is a art and science that is already developed, because this is a big dollar industry that every day they miss is very much. So Hawaii roadmap is out there. We do not have to reinvent it. We need our film industry to be part of our economy. It is great for our state to showcase our beauty, but don't cut it short. Don't cut our safety short. when it's the map is there. Do it the right way.
Well, let me say
And
this.
I just want to clarify real quick that in that case, I just got a bunch of texts. The Maui mayor did not have any control over that decision. It was the state, the state
Wow.
film commission that gave the approval. So the mayor did not have. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Let me kind of bring this to point then. You know, we have so many cases all over the United States about how we tackle, and that is we can learn from the misfortunes of all the other states. For some reason, Hawaii wants to be the pioneer. They don't want to know what the other states did. They want to go by trial and error, and they're failing miserably. That's it. I think what you talked about, Doc, and as well as you, Congresswoman, is that you have all these different functions in certain areas, but the state did a really poor job on branding and messaging. If you're going to bring something into town, you let everybody know what procedures are going to take place. So there is no doubt in anybody's mind that you have, even though they're coming from the mainland, I'm one of them saying, oh, they're coming from the mainland, they're bringing the disease. No, this is what's taking place. What you just explained, Doc. If the governor would just spend 5 minutes and putting on PSA every so often that we have a film crew coming in to express the aloha on the island of Maui. This is what's going to take place. Then people would understand what the hell is going on. But what right now, with the branding that's going on now, everything is so top secret. The Department of Health, they love acronyms, so their DOH is really the CIA and NSA, all in the wrong sense. So I think what they gotta do is branch out and just message correctly, and then we can move on. But right now, nobody wants to give them a dime because everything they've told us so far is a bunch of bull.
And they just keep saying, no worry, we got it under control. We got another alert here saying Bruce Anderson saying contact tracing. We got it under control. And like you said, there's no transparency. There's no real information that's being given out when really all we need is the truth, man. Even if it's bad news, give it to us so we can handle it, so we can plan around it, so we don't have to question like, okay, are you giving us a false sense of security? Just tell the people the truth.
Yes.
Be honest, be transparent, say, hey man, here's where we need help. Here's where we're trying to work harder and fix this. And here's exactly what we're doing. Or as you said, this is a perfect example. If done the right way, this is a great jobs economy story where you're able to, kind of give a little injection to an industry that really needs it right now. And people will be happy about that if they know this is being done right and that it's safe and it's not going to cause further harm.
Hey, Doc, some people are ask you the $1 million question. Since the National Guard and everybody else and their mother is going to pull out from the prison system, are you more than likely going to step in now?
We're willing. They asked us today, but then this is where I'm going to throw this over to our wonderful Congresswoman here and to you guys and to the viewers. So they said they're pulling out, and I had a discussion with one of the associate directors, and we talked about, I said, okay, we still have time. Let's go do the entire facility, all the inmates and all the guards. I'll set a pop-up outside in the parking lot so the guards that aren't working come in so we can get one snapshot in a 24-hour period of where the disease is. Where is it? And then you isolate, quarantine, you separate. I'll evaluate their quarantine facilities, try to help them out. Well, what we figured out, no problems with the guards because they have insurance. It's not my insurance, it's the lab. The lab's over $100 for that lab, and I don't do it. Those go off to the lab, the clinical diagnostics, they go to the mainland. Well, so they're okay, we can do it. Well, the prisoners don't have health insurance. And the prison has asked the state for CARES Act money to test it. And guess what they said? Crickets, chirping, nothing. No, whatever, nothing.
You got to look into this.
Nothing.
That's a crock of shit.
Yeah.
That is a crock of caca. I mean, You know, that's why I watch this show every night, because I learn so much. You know?
I just got that. That is fresh from this afternoon, me talking directly to one of the people who was calling to say, the National Guard has told us they're done. Department of Health said, you're on your own. We're not providing any more service, but we haven't even tested everyone. And so we want to reach out to you. And I said, of course we would. We'll do it. I'll be there. I could have a team there in 24 hours. I could do it all tomorrow, because my staff would drop everything and make it all happen. And
who's reaching out to you? What entity is reaching out to you?
I think it's Nolan Espinda's Nolan Espinda's number one person below him reaching out from his level. So this is coming right from their level, because they realize they need to do something. And I know there's a battle back and forth always between guards and administration, but I think right now they're all unified that the leadership over the prison is really frustrated with what's happened, and they know that it hasn't been handled well, and they want to do it the right way. And that's what I got out of them. They called and they said, no, we know we need to do this, please. You know, we need to do everybody. We know that's the right thing to do. And we walked through it, and they're like, well, how do we get the labs done for all those inmates? And I said, it's not me. It's the lab's got to be paid for by the lab people. And I'm waiting for the callback.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, you know, if they didn't know what to do, I would think the easiest thing to do, if they needed to find funds, is do what a lot of people do, and that's ask Nolan to start a GoFundMe page for the prison. to kind of get this thing rocking and rolling, you know?
What happens when a prisoner gets sick?
Yeah.
What happens when a prisoner, what happens when a prisoner gets hurt? I mean, did they tell them, sorry, you no more insurance? You know, I mean, the state, I don't know. And, you know, I know we're running out of time, and appreciate you guys so much. I just had this is what happens, right? So this condo manager, 200 units, calls the Department of Health, wants some guidance on, you know, how to clean the place, and just need some help, asking questions. They told him, sorry, can I help you? Can I help you? You go call someone that cares. I mean, basically that's what she was told. But again, this is the kind of health department that we have, and it's frustrating. We as a people deserve better. We are entitled to a Department of Health that is functional and that is responsive. It baffles me. The more and more I think about it, you know, I'll tell a quick story. I think you can relate to this, Tulsi. I got on one of my deployments to Korea many years ago. I'm trained in communications, combat communications. So we train we in the field, right? That's what we do. We roll cable, we hook up towers and phones. And so in one of these deployments, they assigned me to Ulsan Air Base in Korea. And they put me in charge of a wire crew that's going to rewire a police station, a fixed station, a building. They don't use field wire. They don't use field phones. They use, back then, it was all these high-tech push-button phones, which I hadn't worked on since I was in school. And they put me in charge of that. Yes, I had the rank, I had the time in service and the time, I had all of that. But I got there and I freaking couldn't remember how to put up a key systems unit on the wall, and I forgot how to read a schematic. And that's how I feel. I think Governor Ige is like that right now. He's sitting over there he's in charge of something that he doesn't understand. See, I did the right thing. I went and told the chick that they assigned me. I said, hey, listen, I'm a mobile guy. I'm combat comm. I don't know this shit. Somebody got to help me. So basically, boom, she became the supervisor and I worked for her. And that's what he needs to do. He needs to bring in the people, whether it's the lieutenant governor, whether it's Miscovich, whoever, that can lead and can give them the proper medical advice, health and safety advice. We talked a long time ago, Charlie, 9 months ago, we said, you know, contact tracing, hire retired police officers, hire retired investigators, teach them the HIPAA law, teach them the crap that you got to follow to get your checklist. You know, I tell you, to put up your chart, Charlie, Yeah. You see, the police officer knows exactly how to get to D. You don't have to train him on that part. He knows how to get to D, or she. What he doesn't and she doesn't know is the inner workings with the health system. But as far as getting the information, how to ask the questions, how to make that person trust you enough to talk to you, they have that skills already there.
Very good
And
point.
no, they're scrambling all over the damn place looking for nurses and doctors and students, and it's just crazy. 50 million, Tulsi, give me 50 million bucks. I will put together contact tracing for not just this state. We can probably do some of the other states too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that
And
difficult.
like Scott has talked about, they don't have to go looking for doctors and nurses and students and people to hire for this job, because you've had all of those people trying to volunteer, banging down the door saying, hey, we want to help. We want to help. We'll volunteer for no freaking pay. We just want to help. And they keep getting rejected. They're getting rejected over and over and over again. And, you know, again, this is why when people say, oh, okay, now we have someone else in charge of contact tracing, is it okay that Park and Anderson are there? The answer is no, for all the reasons that we talked about, because it comes down to leadership. And not only are they guilty of gross negligence, as Scott said, they are standing in the way of progress. They are standing in the way of people who are trying to do the right thing and outright squashing and rejecting those efforts to do what we all know must be done.
I want to give a little story this is another one for all the reporters to ask them. All right, so back when we had our first curve going up, this is 100% from a 100% source of the person who did it. He came up with the idea, I'm not going to put his name up, it's a doctor who's very high profile, also working close to the Lieutenant Governor, where he came up with an idea of saying, we have 200 school aides and nurses aides that are displaced from school because we went to a lockdown, right? In that early phase. Why don't they're already on the state payroll. We don't have to add anything. We don't have to create anything. We don't have to go hire or claim that we have to do some kind of civil service process. They're already employees. Let's bring them all in and have them all be. Guess what? Sarah Park, no, don't want them. Okay, don't need them. We don't need them. Don't want them.
You know what was a shocking revelation from the whistleblower, from Jennifer? I hate calling her whistleblower. Sorry. At that press conference was the fact that a lot of these contact tracers, that's not their primary function. Yes. That in fact this is additional duties.
Yeah.
When I heard that, I tell you, my heart just dropped when I didn't realize that. I thought we hired contact tracers. I didn't think that you took the PhD that's working on some research document or research paper and saying, hey, by the way, when you have a chance, here's a list of numbers to call. I can see why the lady stressed out, because you get your regular job to do, and then you got to try, contact tracing is a full-time gig. It ain't a part-time deal when you have time. That's a full-time gig. And, my heart goes out to Jennifer and all of those others over there that just gotta go through this nonsense, and so frustrating.
I'm wondering. I'm sorry, Doc, but I'm wondering. Because it had already been revealed that Kauai had 50, and we have the lowest case, and we had 50 contact tracers. Why didn't Bruce then reach out to Kauai, since we had 0 cases? Because if you're going to contact trace from the convention center, you can contact trace from any of the islands. If you're going to stay out on computer and you're not going to be hitting the road doing field investigation, why couldn't they use the 50 we had? See, that's the question I always said. If we had, I think that, like the sheriff's department, for instance, right? Their size of the sheriff's department equates to their population size of Kauai. Maybe they only have 7 sheriffs. Honolulu got a bigger amount. But if Kauai was to serve any operation and they needed help, it's under the state umbrella, right? They send everybody over from Oahu to augment the Kauai people. I think that's what would have been the most prudent thing to do. So why didn't they take, if it sounds like Kauai had the most contact tracers, but then I think when you revealed from what the whistleblower said and what was actually printed, they came out a total 18, 15 with 3 on the outer islands. I kind of got a little bit baffled with that number. I said, wait, something's not adding up. And so that's why last time Joshua was on, I kept on bringing up the question. I'm Bruce Anderson telling you for the last 20 conferences that, yeah, we got contact tracing program. We got about 100 of them. Next one, oh yeah, we got a contact tracing. We got about 400 of them, right? And now we get the surprise visit. Well, we only got 15 of them. Then, you know, why do you continue throwing out numbers knowing that you got caught already? Just be factual and then move on. But it's just like you're doubling down on what you already said. And so now more so, people are looking at you like, you boo hash. I mean, you're really good at that, but I think you got to get down to brass tacks.
It just shows
Ego. The ego is
Charlie.
bigger than the brain.
Ego and
bigger than the brain.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't have to be that big, the ego, but still, if it's bigger than the brain, and that's the problem we're having. You know, I know we're running out of time, Doc. I don't want to keep you guys longer than you have. Any closing comments, We got, we got a lot of questions. I mean, I'll be sending this stuff to you guys after the show because it's just too much to cover in 1 hour. But Doc, and I'll leave the final comments to our Congresswoman.
Yeah, I do have some final words. Again, I'll wake up tomorrow and I'm going to work harder tomorrow than I did today. And I'm harder the next day because one of the cries that we have inside our office is failure is not an option. We're going to continue. And I want to just thank again my staff who is just incredible and selfless. You know, I'm adding another about 16 strike team members because we have so many things going on. So I'm actually would love to shout out to all the listeners that if you are interested in joining one of our strike teams, if you have medical background, we could use you. If you don't, we have administrative things. Email my executive vice president. It's just Renee, RENE .Miscovich@gmail. And would like to get about another 2 teams of 8 people to be able to do things like go into the prisons. Because you know why? We got to do this. They're failing us. So what's happening? The private community, you guys, the existing people that support us, we have to come and get it. They're not going to do it. So we've got to do it. And we just have to keep coming together and fighting this. The other thing I want to throw out, it's not been really publicized yet, but I am finalizing in my national roles. I have one of the big things we're going to be doing is testing Navajo Nation. You guys know my big thing, my SEC, it's going, baby. Got a lot of things we could talk about that, but the bottom line is that I came in contact with a lab group in California, highly reputable lab that is willing. They can do 10,000 PCR tests per day that they'll guarantee Hawaii with 24-hour turnaround.
That's incredible.
So we relied on our Department of Health to do it. The Congresswoman basically went and got the money to do it, but who's got to do it? The private community. And I found them because this group, I was talking to them about Navajo Nation, and they were like, we want to get involved with a project like that because we care. That's why we've increased our capacity. And I said, well, if you guys really care, how about Hawaii? We're struggling. Our tests are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days. And they said, done. We'll do it for you. And so I'm going to be bringing that to clinical diagnostics to increase our testing capacity to where it should be. It's not my job. How did I have to do that? The Congresswoman and her colleagues in Washington gave them a bucket load of money that's so big it's sitting under someone's desk to do that. And here we are. The prisons, it's there. Do it. But so my charge is to the medical community, to the people of Hawaii, you know, when it comes down to it, I trust you. I have faith in you. We're a great state. We're going to work together. We're going to come together. And we're just going to do it. We're going to have to do it. So that's my call.
Thanks, Doc. Congresswoman Gabbard. Your 3 minutes.
I want to say thank you.
Just kidding.
No, you have as long as you want.
I'm used to that.
All the time you want.
No, you're our hero. She's my hero, man. I'm telling you, I've got so much respect for her. She can talk as long as she wants. Please.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to say thank you, Scott, for being that frontline warrior and for not taking no for an answer. You know, there are few people, few and far between, who have that persistence and the heart that you and your entire team embody. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you, Mel and Charlie, both, for doing what you're doing, because when you ask Mel, what do we do as individuals, as people? You know, the only thing that I have that maybe someone else doesn't have is a platform that comes with the responsibility of my job and the ability to exercise congressional oversight. And I'm doing my very best to take advantage of those opportunities. But every one of us has a voice, and it's so critical that we use it in whatever way we can. Phone calls, emails, letters, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, petitions. We have to continue to make as much noise as possible. As Congressman John Lewis, the civil rights hero who just passed away, I loved almost every time he spoke. He said, we have to keep making good trouble. This is not making trouble that's going to hurt anybody. We're making good trouble because we're fighting to save people's lives. We are fighting to save people's lives. So anybody who says, hey, you know, why are you trying to rock the boat? You know, you're being too harsh. Bullshit. It is about the lives of every single one of our loved ones. People we know, people we don't know. And this is why we cannot afford to give up this fight until we actually bring about the change, whether it is the change in actions or the change in personnel. We have to bring about the change so that the government that we all pay for as taxpayers, it is our government. They work for us. We got to make sure that they're actually doing their jobs and fulfilling that promise. Otherwise, get out and let somebody else come in who will actually take that oath and that responsibility seriously.
Amen.
Amen.
I should have worn my American flag shirt. Damn it. I feel so damn energized right now.
Hey,
Charles.
wait, I want to show you this, guys, because this is, let me show you this. This is the other thing I got that we always want to remember right here. Let me put that up there. Can you see that?
Yeah.
See that? That's the other thing. Look who's in that uniform, because this person here also serves our country. And, you know, she's out there doing that.
Came and test. I had to go and get tested. I'm actually, and I haven't talked about this publicly yet, but have my Army annual training that kicks off tomorrow. And I'm headed with a team of civil affairs officers to Alaska to help a Native Alaska tribe community there. So their travel requirements is to go and get tested. Thanks to Scott and his team, they were able to take me in on short notice. So I appreciate that.
And we're happy to do it, because look what you're going to do. You're going to serve people who need us, right? Who need you. Thank you.
I'm grateful.
Thank you and everybody else. So
thank you. I love all you guys. I'm grateful to stand shoulder to shoulder with you.
thank you.
Charles.
Well, I want to take this opportunity, first of all, my deepest gratitude to you, Congresswoman Gabbard. It's always a pleasure, and I thank you so very much. Whenever you have the opportunity to come on, you're always welcome. And to my buddy Scott, you know, I got a little emotional tonight because of you. You're helping my buddies over at the prison, and I just want to thank you, because I think I'll be very heartbroken if I see any of them got hurt. It's bad enough the environment they have to work in, but they don't need the added bullshit to be placed on their shoulders, because they're just trying to feed their families, and they chose a profession. You know, really, they chose a profession that nobody else wants, and they need as much help as they can. The medical side, I'm glad you're there. If there was anybody else, I'd recommend you there. And if you weren't available, I recommend my other friend, Dr. T, because I trust you both. You both have shown true value. So I thank you. To the viewers out there, again, Mel and I, we try to bring the best that we can. We try to educate and inform. We let you make the decision. But tonight was a special night because there are so many things happening in the hopper that needed to be talked about, that needed to be put in its proper perspective, because you saw the Congresswoman, Scott, as well as the whistleblower on a syndicated channel give their talk. And we had two of the three of them here tonight, so you got to hear it again and get the real insight of how it all unfolded. So again, I thank you for watching in tonight, and I hope you folks take away some renewed strength that, you know, if as long as we stick together, we're gonna win this battle, and we have to. We have no choice. We gotta stick together. Really. Okay, Mel.
Failure is not an option. I like that. I really like that. Let me just read this real quick because this just came in. It says, "Hi Mel, is there this is where people are at. Hi Mel, is there any way we could create a Venmo account for donations to get tests done at OCCC and other prison facilities in Hawaii? I'm sick and tired of Espinda not doing shit about anything." And I said, we're working with Tulsi, and you know, we're gonna find out where that money's at. I have no doubt in my mind we're gonna get to it. And she said, I'm an ACO wife, and I'm sick of seeing so-and-so not doing anything. I'm afraid my husband contracting it and bringing it home to myself and my mom. You know, this is America, and then people shouldn't be worried about that stuff. People working for the state shouldn't be worried about that. That just came in. That's why I wanted to read it. I've been emailing him and our senators about issues at MCCC. Oh, I'm sorry, this is at MCCC. No, OCCC. Nothing gets done. It's so sad. And that has to change. That's why I like that failure is not an option. We got to press forward, and we will. We'll press forward. I'm sorry, you raising your hand, Doc?
I'm raising my hand, man, because I just came up with an idea after listening to you and listening to Charlie, who touches my heart. I have two things I want to do. Charlie, I am going to reach out, and at the very minimum, I'm going to be setting up in the parking lot at OCCC with the approval of the course of the leadership, a drive-through for every guard's family, whether they're working or not working. And in 24 hours, I want to get every guard tested, and I'll be doing that on my own, right? And I'll make it happen. I just want them to give me. Second, let's reach out. Healthcare people, donate N95s. Those are the masks that we wear. When those people are going into that endemic, very, very infective environment, let's give them the same option that the people in the healthcare environment have. Let's donate them, so every one of those guards that has to go in there at least has the bare minimum of something that is effective. Let's put that war cry out there right now.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Love you, man. Thank you.
I gotta tell you, magic happens on this show sometimes. You know, miracles happen at this show. You know, anyway, thank you guys. You guys make the show. You guys, a lot of people. Tulsi, you got a fan out there. Her name is Rhonda Morris. She is like a huge fan. She made sure I remembered to tell you that she said hi.
That's so awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you, Rhonda.
Yeah, she's an angel. She's one of Kauai's angels. When we had the flood, she organized and got. I mean, she's just an amazing person, and she didn't say anything about you, Doc, but I'm sure she means hi to you too. I don't know.
Hi, Rhonda. That's okay, man.
She wanted. In fact, she's been on our show a couple of times, but we gotta. Although this is a uncensored show, oh Jesus Christ, she can get close.
She takes the word uncensored to a new level.
But we love her. Her and Haunani, Kaimina Ao. Oh my God, good people. Anyway, Tulsi, man, it's been almost 20 years since we met. You were on the Honolulu City Council. You're young. You're still young.
She's still young.
Yeah.
And now you're a congresswoman for the United States of America. I'm gonna ask the question. Have we seen the last of Tulsi?
That's a loaded question.
That damn right. That's one of the chances, you know, when you come on our show I mean, you can, you know, you don't got to commit to anything, but, you know, I mean, I get asked that every day, and I'm not even near a congressperson.
Here's what I'll tell you. I'll answer your question, but here's what I hate is that I see comments or I get questions from people in the media after things like the press conference that we held on Friday, right? Was that on Friday?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, she's just doing that because she wants to run for governor. She's just doing that because she's trying to get attention. And that really, really pisses me off. And I feel sad for people who feel this way because they've become so jaded that any act of fulfilling my responsibility to do my job, and B, an act of caring for the people of this place that I love and I call home, is twisted into some politically motivated move. So to answer your question, I'm not running for anything, period, full stop. I have no plans to run for anything right now. I am focused on fulfilling my job and doing the very best that I can to help the people of Hawaii right now in the midst of this crisis. And you know, my husband and I we want to start a family. You conveniently pointed out how old I am, Mel, so mahalo for that. But you know,
Hi,
we'll see.
You started your career at 12, you know?
We'll see what happens. You know, my heart is in service, and there are a lot of ways to serve that don't involve having your name on the ballot. You know, I'll leave it there.
Thank you. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but you know what? I gotta tell you, no, and Charlie knows this. Charlie knows this because, you know, Charlie and I, we're like brothers. He's just a hell of a lot older, but we're like brothers. Like
there you go. There you go.
You know, as you know, everybody had assumed.
Here, Scott, you're next. Watch out.
Yeah. Oh no, they raged on me about my head shining a couple times, so I'm in trouble with that. Man. Don't worry.
You know, everybody.
We're like the three amigos now. So.
Everybody assumed that I was gonna run again. Everybody assumed that and then same thing, Tulsi. Everybody thought Charlie and Mel, the show we were doing was because I wanted to prep and ramp up for the election. And when I didn't run, everybody was like, what? You know, we thought that's why you were doing the show. It's insulting, really. Yeah. It really is. And so I didn't mean to, you know, put you in a spot like that. What the hell, man? You know, shit, we got an open forum, and I know there's probably 10,000 people that's gonna see this, and I just figured I'd ask. You stay safe in Alaska. You be very safe in Alaska.
Thank you.
And did they twirl it for 10 seconds each nostril?
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
It was highly uncomfortable, but thank you, Scott. Your team is
awesome.
awesome.
You know, there is a lottery of my staff. Can I do it, please? Oh no, I want to do it. There's like 4 people came out to want to be there and to be involved with it. So don't worry. You had one of the best swabbers we ever had. So.
You know, I gotta go get tested. I think they did it wrong, because when I went in there, my hearing was clear, so I think they went through my ears. They was doing it for 10 seconds. So.
Yeah. I when I had mine, I tell you, my wife took me for ice cream afterwards because I was like,
exactly.
Tearing. You know?
If you ain't tearing up a little bit, then they didn't do it right.
Yeah. This lady, I was like, when is she gonna stop? You know, but she counted backwards too, like a rocket was going to blow up. You know, like. Anyway. Hey, thank you guys again. You guys, I tell you, you guys just make. You know, I look forward to nights like tonight. I really do. Sometimes it's to do this every night. Sometimes it gets to be kind of you drag. Some days you just not feel like going on. But tonight, I was excited, and you guys did an awesome job. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're with you folks. Whatever you guys need for us to do, we are there with both of you and everyone else that wants to join this fight. Tomorrow night we have Dr. Kimball on. He's from Salt Lake City, Utah. Originally, he started the North Shore Urgent Care Clinic over here on Kauai. He's an emergency room physician, and he's got a bunch of statistics. Friday, we have Senator Kai Kahele. He's going to be talking to us as well. And then on Saturday, we have Brian Ingalls. Brian Ingalls is one of the guys certified. He got certified on his own. He's got all the experience, and the resume is incredible. Call the Department of Health. I want to help. No, thank you. we have enough. And he's a statistician. He's going to provide us a bunch of stats on Saturday night. So we got an awesome week ahead of us. So I just want to say thank you all. We love you guys. Keep the fight is all I can say. And most importantly, protect yourself and your families and your loved ones. God bless everybody. You all have a good night.
Take care.
Aloha.
Good night, guys. See ya. Thanks.